I think one of the first real practical things we have to think of when we write a book is the structure. What is the framework that we hang the story on? Because everybody has the idea for the story, something they really like, some germ of an idea. Very few people have the plot from beginning to end. Very few people take the time to write out the outline, which you should. I've got another video on outlining. It's real important if you want to get your book finished. But the framework is part of the practical aspect of how it's constructed. If you have multiple characters, how do they interact? What are the parts? I think some people confuse a 3-act structure in drama or movies with something you have to do in a book. You don't have to necessarily do that, but the 3-act structure is a framework you can hang it on. And in the past, I've talked about how I referred to Carson McCullers' The Heart is a Lonely Hunter when I was constructing my book in terms of how do you checkerboard different characters who are all together but sort of also apart in that space. So another example of an interesting way of frameworking. Not everything do you have to actually consider using, but it gets your mind working about frameworks for hanging your story in some kind of way. And this is Sherwood Anderson's collected works, and I love this. I bought this from eBay. This lady is long dead. I looked it up. Miss Emily Gray. She even wrote her. She even signed it on the inside here. And it's what happens when you pass on. Your family wants that money, so they sell everything on eBay, or they disperse your belongings that you collect. They get dispersed to other people. And I just want Emily Gray to know I love her book that I have here. Okay. The book I'm talking about is Sherwood Anderson's Winesburg, Ohio. It's even got a nifty map. And the structure in this story, take place in the 19-teens, over 100 years ago. But it was a formidable time in America. You had a period of time from the late 1800s to the early 1900s where the whole physical aspect of the United States and probably a lot of other countries changed. It went from hardly any paved roads and all dirt roads to all paved roads, hundreds of miles, and highways. And it went from people traveling around in horse-drawn vehicles to everyone traveling in cars. It went from a time where most people were engaged in agriculture in the fields to almost everybody was engaged in a big city industry. This was a period of industrialization. And if you lived at that time, you would be your head would be spinning because you see how the whole world is changing fundamentally before your eyes. Maybe it's a time like now. If anybody remembers a time all the way back from the 70s, there was no VCRs, no cable TV, no computer, no personal computers, no internet, and now we've got AI. So someone can remember from one period to another. It can be quite disconcerting. And in Winesburg, Ohio, the main character goes around town. He wants to be a reporter, and he interviews various people. He's not really interviewing. He kind of makes contact with them in some cases, and in some cases, a person is mentioned, and then there's a story about them. So it's a collection of a couple dozen stories that highlight what's happening in the minds and the lives and the emotional feelings of each person of this town. And this is a story. This is a kind of a collection of stories, but it's also like, Carson McCullers' Heart is a Lonely Hunter, where these are all people in the same physical space. They even have the map, but they all have this internal world that they really live in, and nobody really knows what's going on in other people's lives. That whole interior space. You can imagine all the people you meet and you work with every day, and what's going on with them. Now, Anderson was a very highly strung advertising man. He was a reporter for a sports reporter for the newspapers, and I know that whether his works are considered good or not has kind of oscillated through the years. In some periods of time, he's thought of, oh, this kind of old-fashioned quaintness. Like a lot of early 20th century writers, he kind of he's kind of in that realm where for the first time he's introducing a person's sexuality or just their sexual urges as a component of both their life and their personality. Now today we almost have too much emphasis on that. Everybody's art is connected to what they want to do with their genitals. But in early 20th centuries, this sort of Freudian concept that your sexuality was not just something you shouldn't talk about, or, it was just like a bodily function like burping or something, but it was a part of who you were deep down. And Sherwood Anderson kind of hit on that because he brings in the sexual proclivities and the pain that people feel by being isolated in some of his works. And I've met many literary people who turn up their nose at Sherwood Anderson, but I find him very eternally interesting. The criticism of him is sort of quaint characters, but or less complex, but it's because he was at the very outset of this idea of bringing in sexuality into characters' makeup. So it might seem, some people, it just might, I don't know, you have to read it yourself. I'll leave it at that. So, the wonders of eBay and old library books that people are getting rid of. So, I get into this other Sherwood Anderson, his memoirs, tons of stuff and parts of short stories, and he had all this problems and mental breakdowns during this great time of change in America. And I've even got, here's a library card. Remember these? I don't know if they still have these anymore. And I had always been told that Sherwood Anderson's other writings were not very good or worthwhile investigating, but they really are. If you get your hands on something like this and really want to delve into the mind and the time of another century, a century ago, but yet it was the beginning of our own modern age today in the way we view personality and people and writings. His collections of short stories, some of them are just absolutely dynamite. I think was it Into the Woods? I should have found the name of that, but there's just some tremendous. I'm interested again in structure and point of view, and so like in the short story, there's a lady, and then you hear all about her family, but in her head as she's going out into this field, and then she drops dead. And the rest of the story is the police are investigating this, and then there's a little kid, and you're seeing it through his eyes, and he can't quite understand what's going on now, but he describes what's going on and all the people, and it's just an amazing tour de force of the different perspectives. And that's what Winesburg, Ohio is as well. It's you see the whole panoply of all the kinds of people, and it just can dazzle your mind to think about the people you are around and each of their epic stories. So I can't leave this without putting my own little thing in here. This is my book, There Are Still Unknown Places. It's a novel, again, of different people living their lives all together but apart. All of them have their epic, amazing stories that are, in terms of all of history, their stories are trivial, but they're the whole world to each of us. That, our stories, what we're going through, whether we're known or not, famous or not, whether what we're doing is important or stupid, these are our epic stories. They're happening in all the time that we can ever have. So this is my book. It's on sale at bookstores in Thailand. It may be for sale overseas in some bookstores. I'm not sure. You can buy it from Amazon and Kindle. Please read it and like and subscribe. Tune in for more videos.